Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Michael Z. Williamson, a prominent Baen science fiction author. We're going to talk a little bit about his background, what he writes, why. So to get us started, Mike, why don't you just give us a brief background on your bio, just a general background on kind of where you're from, et cetera.
Yeah, it's so I was born in the UK. My father's Scottish, my mother's English. I joke that they got married, so I'm Scottish. We moved to Canada. We moved to the US. I enlisted in the Air Force. I was active duty Air Force, Army National Guard, Air National Guard, Army National Guard again, Air National Guard again. When you're in the Guard, whenever there's a promotion slot, if you're qualified, you try and take the promotion slot. So it gets, it can be a bit mercenary in some fields. And deployed for Operation Desert Fox and in support of OIF. I've been writing for 20, well, I've been getting published for 20 years, been writing pretty much my entire life. I've been a bladesmith since amateur basis since 1983, professional since 1991. It's back to being part-time once I started getting published a lot, and I've got a couple of long overdue projects for friends I need to catch up on. I'm a amateur gunsmith because I'm a huge gun collector, and a lot of the stuff I collect, there really aren't people around who can fix them.
Yeah.
Stuff made 150 years ago. Yeah.
So you started, right? I guess you started professionally publishing you've been professionally publishing for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go all the way back. Mm-hmm. And what was the first sale you had? Was it a short story novel? Like, how did you get started?
I don't remember which was first, but about 1998, I was getting articles published for Second Amendment activism on keepandbeararms.com and a couple of other sites. And I was selling erotica. Doesn't pay much, but it's there's always a market for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great authors who got their start in erotica.
and in fact, Robert Silverberg cranked out, so to speak, a couple of hundred smut novels in the 50s. Then I started getting 2002 or so, I became editor at large for Survival Blog. I send them a lot of links. I do product reviews. Manufacturers send me stuff and I try to break it. And frequently I get to keep it, not always, but often. And articles on procedures and philosophies and various disaster-related concepts. I've done some work for Discovery Channel and Discovery and Science Channel consulting on TV shows, military matters and firearms. And it's been a long, convoluted path.
And when did you sell your first novel to Baen? Or like, when did you get into science fiction and that
I'd always
sort
been
of genre?
So I got into science fiction in 7th grade. A friend of mine was reading Heinlein's Have Spacesuit Will Travel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of equations in there for acceleration and time and things like that. And he wasn't quite sure how they worked. And I showed him how you plug numbers in to get answers. And I read that book, and I read all the other Heinlein juveniles, and the Del Reys, and John Christopher, and bunches of others. And I started writing sci-fi in 8th grade, and it was garbage because, it was 8th grade. And then I started trying to write seriously when I was about 22. It was a few years later I started getting the technical stuff and other fiction published. I'd finished writing Freehold around 2000, and I was at the World Science Fiction Convention, talked to Jim briefly because I'd met him once before, and I knew he wouldn't remember me, and I said so. And he said, "Oh, I remember you perfectly." He was being sarcastic, and, from one chance meeting. And but someone referred me to Baen's Bar and an online forum, and I started hanging out there. And I've mentioned this elsewhere. I was complaining about Stephen Barnes told me to write short stories and get short stories published and get known, which is an old method, and it still sort of works. But these days, it's much better if you can show up and say, oh, I've got a blog with 80,000 daily viewers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a much better catch for a publisher these days. My short fiction, I needed to develop. I was a better novelist than short fiction writer, but I kept getting rejections, and I complained. Alas, it doesn't work for us at this time. And like, dear contributor, thanks but no thanks. There's no need to pretty him. He said maybe they're being alliterative. Alas, soleil. And
what publication? What publication was that did that to you?
That was all of them. That was all of them. That was Fantasy and SF. That was Analog. That was Asimov's. Alas, it doesn't work for us at this time. That's what irritated me. It's like if you're going to copy paste each other, at least you keep it simple and to the point.
Well, I just hate it when there's like a sentence, like just say, unfortunately, we didn't accept it. We received your submission of such and such. It doesn't suit our needs at this time, or it doesn't suit this publication, or something brief and direct. If it's the wrong publication, say so they don't waste your time and theirs. If it doesn't suit your needs at this time because you've already published a story on tap dancing robots on Mars or whatever. I don't need the foreplay. Just go straight to it. Just give it to me. Like I time for that. Right?
Thanks but no thanks. And he said, send me one single chapter of something you're working on. I'll take a look at it. So I sent him one single period chapter in the subject, and he wrote back, I have read it. And he says, so this part here, it elides description. You need some more detail there. I'm not sure why getting aboard a shuttle needs more description, but this man's been doing this as long as I've been alive, so I will take his advice. Mm-hmm. And I fleshed out that paragraph and that does actually make it a segue rather than a cut. And then he said, well, send me another chapter. So we did this for like 9 months. And he says, let's call it a deal. I'll take Freehold. And I think that year the only 2 new authors they had were Tom Kratman and myself.
Oh wow!
So that was it.
Rest is history. So if somebody picks up like Weird World War IV mm-hmm. and reads your story, which I'm assuming is probably very different than some of the other.
There's snark there's little bits of snark in everything, and some are more prevalent than others. But that one, we pulled out all the stops.
Yeah, that one was like snarkity snarkity snark. But if somebody reads that and enjoys it, what's the first thing they should start out with? Like what novel that you have that they should go to first?
If they like the political sarcasm in it, and it's not for any particular politics, it's for all politics.
Or even just like making fun of anybody, like bureaucracies.
If they like that, probably the Ripple Creek books, Future Mercenaries. I wrote those because people think, you can make science fiction up as you go along. Well, you have to have a consistent universe to whatever you're writing. And the military gets to go wild and blow things up. Like, not usually. There
are consequences.
You have financial limitations. You have ammo restrictions. You have politicians second guessing everything. These days with cameras over your shoulder. Oh wait. And so I did Ripple Creek because I wanted to, so let's have some mercenaries who have to keep someone alive. They're cut off from higher up, and they have plenty of ammo and no reason not to use it. And it was fun, but there's political snark through the entire trilogy. And at some point, I've got a 4th one plotted out, but I haven't done anything with the evidence. It's contracted. So that starts off. With
it gets started, but at time the clock is ticking, my friend.
The demolition expert is the first one on site and has a pallet full of explosives and is not afraid to use it. And anyone who's familiar with it, Elka's got explosives, and she's first on site, and the entire leadership's going, "Oh God!"
There's no one to stop her. No one to stop her.
If they like if they like the actual military aspects of it, then anything in the Freehold universe. Mm-hmm. And I try to make everything stand alone. Even though they're listed as sequels, most of them are not actually sequels. You can pick any book up. There's enough background to comprehend where it starts, what it's doing. So I've always hated finding a book with a great cover and a great sounding blurb and pick it up and take it home. This is number 4 of 6, and the first 3 are out of print. But that does me a lot of good. So.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Or they just haven't finished the damn thing, right?
No, we're not. Well, I don't think I've read the books in question, but I think I know which ones you're referring to.
there actually there's I could think of two or three. Like it's not just one author.
Yes, yeah. I can think of one, two, many,
Yeah, but yeah, we won't harsh anyone's mellow.
I mean, it happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a delay in writing because I got divorced, got remarried. My wife's 15 years younger. I now have two more young kids, so I'll be 70 when the youngest graduates high school.
How well? I probably shouldn't. I'm not going to ask about your kid. Yeah, we also like. I have the same wife, but we have a very young one.
No,
because
I'm 55, and my oldest daughter's 24, and my youngest is 2.
Yeah, you definitely have. You're older than me, but my oldest is 19. My youngest is 3.
Yeah. So
it's like starting over again. It's just like.
So I've got you beat by 6 years.
Yeah. I'm.
And in some ways, I'm a lot. I've seen this before. So it's nice to try. No anger. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's a kid being a kid.
You try it.
Sometimes it's like you all have to do this.
No, you're doing the exact same thing with I'm like, because when I was younger, I was I was harsher on the kids. I'm not going to go into any detail, but now I'm like I know that you like to every time you see a glass that's full, you want to just run toward it and dump it. I get it. So,
no, ours just steal the drinks and drink them.
Oh no.
I'm at my desk with a glass of water and that was mine.
Yeah, no, this is like if there's a glass of water anywhere near me, he'll grab it, dump it. It's like it's a really annoying trait that you have. Let's and
online, we call them small person and baby brother. And the discussion a couple of days ago was so they've painted the entire stairwell, the dining table, the floor. Why did you give them paint? I didn't give them paint. I thought you gave them the paint. Small person.
Yeah, a little open secret. I kind of deserve things like that because when I was little and I saw my dad painting, I improvised.
I never did. I mean, little bits, but nothing. A little scribble here or there. Not. I mean, there's handprint art, cave art, all down the stairwell.
Let me be clear. When I improvised, I made my own paint, and by making my own paint,
no, but she did pour paint onto her ceiling fan in order to decorate the walls, which was actually rather creative.
Yes,
it's hard to be. It's like
it's hard to be angry, but
I see what you did here. Okay, you could have asked. We could have got you a toy that does this without painting the entire.
Okay, all right. I gotta focus because I'll talk about this stuff. Yeah.
Well, all this becomes part of the writing process. This is all.
That's right. Okay, so what do you work or what are your influences? Like, who do you consider your influences?
Heinlein was huge. Niven and Purnell, Rudyard Kipling, outdoor writer. Peter Hathaway Capstick, who was a big game hunter in 5 countries and then started writing about being a big game hunter in a very vivid prose, very descriptive. You did great hooks and then strung you along, and then the finale was always very satisfying. It wasn't that's it. It was this is man-eating beasts, and and then I realized my rifle was empty.
And then you go back and you count how many rounds. You're like, oh wow, I should have seen that. I should have figured that out.
Well, in that case, they were in camp, and so this is Africa. So you keep loaded cartridges tip first in the muzzles of your double rifle, so the spiders don't lay egg nests in your rifle and cause it to blow up. And you routinely in the heat change out rounds so they're not overheated because that'll affect the chemistry of the combustion. So he got back to the tent after chasing this lion out of camp, cracked it open to change rounds just because default behavior. And it was empty because one of the clients had decided it was dangerous to have a loaded gun in the tent. They had no, my gun stays loaded at all times. And he realized the lion had walked through one side of his tent and out the other next to his cot.
Not fun. Not good.
Dressed
Not
in a
good.
breechcloth and a double rifle. It's like
Any other influences? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I read lots. Actually, I just got out of basic. I was in tech school at Shepherd Air Force Base, and Bain was a brand new publisher at the time. I think maybe 2 or 3 years, and they came up with this scheming, conniving concept of getting their books into the exchange. So every week I went into every month I went to the exchange, and there were 6 more books from Bain. They're usually military SF, and frequently writers I knew. Dean Yang, Purnell, others, and so all right, I got to buy all 6 of these books. And in between coursework and military stuff, all right, I'm going to read all these books. Like, I need more books. So they did get a good market that way, and so I saw all their stuff and was familiar with it, which is why I figured they were a likely venue for my work.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, it's why they're the first publisher I sent the pitches to for the anthologies. And the thing about Bain is they'll publish. They're not ideologically constrained.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're open to they'll publish even in the anthology I have Mamatas, right? Communist. I have your story. I have other stories that are like I like having a market for ideas. An idea will succeed or fail on its own. If it's a bad idea, there's nothing to fear. But if you attack ideas and force them underground, even if they're bad ideas, they will metastasize because of their allure.
As we've noticed the last couple of years, if you try and suppress information, you create conspiracy theorists where there weren't any.
Right.
Why are you hiding it? Oh, because you shouldn't see it. Well, why shouldn't I see it? If it's stupid, I'll understand it's stupid. Well, you're not smart enough to know that. Are you sure?
Because I'm certainly creative enough to come up with an alternative explanation that's far worse for you and may not be true.
Yeah. So smarter than me. Statistically, you're probably not. And when it comes to my wife, I'll put money that you're not.
Well, especially especially politicians.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And even though he actually a quite intelligent man per test scores, Bill Clinton admitted he got into politics because he didn't really have any acumen for anything practical. He came out and said it. I could talk and persuade people, but I really wasn't, going to do much else. So.
Yeah, and he's
agree with him or not. He's quite intelligent, and he understood that's where his forte was going to be.
Yeah, he's a Rhodes Scholar, and he was also, again, I'm not. You probably know where I stand, right? But a little random story about Bill Clinton. So I worked with a guy who was in. It was in Arkansas, and he was at like a boys state or something like that. And since Clinton was Arkansas, I guess he went to Boys Nation or something like that. I can't remember the details, but he chatted with Bill Clinton and just had a positive exchange, and then went back home. And his girlfriend the subsequent year was at did a similar thing, and this guy was with his girlfriend, or actually no, he wasn't. So she mentioned, and she was with him the first time that he had met Bill Clinton, but he wasn't there. And when Bill Clinton was talking to her, he just said something like, I'm just going to make up the guy's name. It was a name that was not relatively common, right? But it was like Jed or something like that.
He
right?
remembered it.
He's like, well, how's Jed? Like a year later, he had one meeting with the guy. He was just exceptional at remembering people's faces and names, and which is what you have to be if you're a politician.
Quite a few of them are, and they have those skill sets. But I can despise a politician, but still respect them if they've got an intellect.
Yeah,
and I can grudgingly acknowledge things. It's like, so even if I don't like this guy, in this case, he got it right. I mean, I don't blindly hate people just because.
That's right. It's just it's not even like, and I try to segment it toward the policy. Like, this policy is really, really dumb, right? Like, take the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Like, I think we had to get out,
but that was
relative
disaster. That was beyond.
But the execution.
Yeah.
It was like we had to get out. I like, we've been there too long. There's not a lot to gain by staying there. We could have a smaller presence, but you can't say, like, politicians are saying you can only have 2,500 troops. Well, Bagram Air Force Base, we can't really defend it anymore, even though that's the singular, like, just an absolute disaster. And that was not a military.
And that was less of an issue
political.
and that was less of an issue than just telling the civilians, well, you're on your own, we're pulling out. You got airfare, right? Oh, your kids?
Yeah.
Oh, well, wow. Oh, well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
See ya.
And they started making noises the same way in the Ukraine. But
okay, focus. So
into our second part of this discussion, but yeah. So
we will get last question in the first segment. What are you working on now? What's coming out soon? What's coming out soon? And then what are you working on?
So I'm working on the third time travel novel, and these still stand alone, but these do read better as a series versus the Freehold stuff. I had the concept. I had a really rough outline, and the last couple of days I suddenly came up with a bunch of complications that make it so much better, because complications mean conflict resolution, and which involves either thinking or shooting, depending. So that's underway. I've basically
and what's the title of that for people to look? Okay.
I
Good answer.
Got conceptualized, but I need to finish putting the words down for a Black Rising novel with Ringo. He gave me a bunch of input. I've got to throw down what I'm throwing down and send it to him to be tweaked. And that was based on my story in Hail to the King, Baby, in the anthology. People assume because this guy's a stoner that he must also be stupid. It's not at all true.
Nope.
That was going to be a lot of fun, and probably offend a lot of people. So oh well. Then coming out reprint in June-ish is my contemporary sniper trilogy. It was originally published by HarperCollins back in 2004, 2006. Bane's reprinting that. It's already on sale electronically and has been, and reasonably well. And
what's the name of that for people who check it out?
It's Target Terror is the trilogy title. I think that's the
Target Terror.
Yep. U.S. Army snipers in actually on the Pakistan side of the border, because the U.S. has never actually gone on to the into territory of adjoining nations for a war, ever.
Never.
And then in Romania, and then in Indonesia.
All right. Well, folks should definitely check out the books that are currently out, particularly the Freehold series, your time travel series, and then look forward. They have a lot to look forward to with what's coming out. Thank you, Michael. Mike or Mike? It's Mike. Michael or Mike? I'll just call you Mike. It's more efficient. Efficient. All right, and we're gonna move to the next episode and talk about another highly divisive, not really, topic. Talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone.